Hello and welcome back to Lightworker Training. My name is Tatiana and the topic of today's video is you are the teacher. So if you're the teacher, why are you sitting here listening to me? You got this. Okay, what am I talking about? You are the teacher. So this goes back to the topic I was talking about in the video, can you heal someone else? So in that video, I explained how ultimately we're all healing ourselves because it's an inside job, okay? So teaching is the same. So somebody can hold space for you and facilitate and share things with you to help you heal yourself. And it's the same with teaching. And I talk about this in the book, and I'm going to be talking about it in the videos as well, of how we go through these different phases. And so teaching is just another phase of this whole process of healing and coming back to the truth of ourselves. So today we're going to get into your teacher self, your inner teacher, and what that is and how we access it. So the reason why we even need to be having this conversation is because we have forgotten our inner teacher. We actually were trained to forget. We were trained to tune it out and to focus our energy and attention on something else. We were trained to focus our energy and attention passively receiving information from an external teacher that we weren't allowed to question and had to just repeat back what we were told. So a lot of things have suffered from this kind of social conditioning, and two of the big ones are our imagination and intuition. So imagination and intuition are absolutely crucial components to life work and wait, did I say life work? I meant to say light work and life, but yes, life work. Let's just call it that. So part of this journey of training ourselves in being light workers is rekindling our sacred imagination, reacquainting ourselves with our intuition. So intuition is our inner teacher. It's right there in the word. So we need to look at how this social conditioning has affected our intuition and our relationship with our intuition. And also how the social conditioning has trained us in perceiving intuition as this kind of weird, psychic, special, ESP phenomenon, and really like there's nothing that special about it. It's very it's just who we are. It's like saying, wow, you know, that person is so special and have all these special talents and gifts because, you know, they have skin on their body. It's like, okay, everybody has skin on their body. Hopefully, if you don't have skin on your body, I'm so sorry. But you know, it's actually the natural way of being. It's how we were created. So intuition is the same thing. So I'm going to be really just bringing some light to some of these topics that I feel have been purposefully put in this light of being really spooky or special or weird, or, you know, oh, it's occult stuff, so it's really spooky. It's like, no, it's just hidden from our perception due to a specific kind of social conditioning, and frankly, let's just call it what it is, brainwashing, okay? I said it. So, so we need to just be aware that this stuff is way more pervasive than we sometimes think it is. And all these little messages have crept into our consciousness and or subconscious, you know, they're buried, they're in the subconscious, and we end up having all of these kind of foregone conclusions and assumptions and beliefs about things that we're maybe not even totally conscious of. So we're having this conversation now to just bring some of this stuff up into the light of our consciousness so we can look at it, think about it critically, and think about, you know, do I want to run my energy that way? Is there a better way I could maybe be approaching this? So, okay, I'm going to get back to intuition. I am kind of the tangent queen, and I'm going to try to be concise in this video. So, intuition, understanding that our social conditioning has created this pattern where we're looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And that might be part of why you're here watching this video. And that's fantastic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with looking around for some information. But it tends to be quite unbalanced. And just know that I'll tell you right now that everything I am bringing forth, anything that's useful anyway, you know, I might have my own little bullshit in there, kind of mucking it up a little bit from time to time. And I do thank you for your tolerance of that. But anything of value that I'm bringing through is known by all. It's not a mystery. It maybe has been obscured. It maybe has been hidden. It maybe has been occulted in some way, but that doesn't mean that it's not available. So all of this information is available, and it is available through your intuition by you going within and opening to receive it. Now, there's a lot of reasons why that process might get a little funky. There might be some blocks to receiving, which is what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about how some of those blocks came to be. So we're going to be working through that. But what I want you to know right off the bat is that you are already hardwired to do this, to get whatever information you need for whatever situation it is. I don't care if it's seemingly low stakes or seemingly life and death. You have what it takes to be able to receive the knowledge you require in that moment within you, without looking outside of you. Okay, so I'm going to put that out there, and then it'll be up to us throughout this process of rediscovering to test these claims that I'm making and see if they prove to be correct, right? So this is actually an appropriate kind of relationship to have with a teacher. You receive the information, you question it, you analyze it, you process that information, then you apply it and experiment with it and observe the result. And then, you know, you go back and run it through this process, right? It's a scientific kind of method. It's a method of discovery. And so this is the appropriate kind of relationship to have with any kind of teacher. So we can have this relationship with an external teacher. We can have this relationship with an internal teacher. And hopefully we do have this relationship. But like I said, there's been a lot of social conditioning that has trained us. Think about how many hours, not even minutes, but hours and hours and hours and hours, days and years for a child that, that just seemed like an eternity that they were spending in that system that was indoctrinating them into this mode of being, indoctrinating them into a system of focusing their consciousness and their will in a very specific way, in a very passive way, in a very obedient way, in a very non-questioning kind of way. So think about it. If you were questioning the teacher or what the teacher was presenting, maybe a little bit of questioning would be allowed, right? But you couldn't just throw a lot of doubt into the equation, right? You couldn't be just asking a ton of questions. You couldn't be having a lot of discussion oftentimes. Most of the school environment was all about sit at this really uncomfortable desk, face forward, don't look at anybody else, don't talk to anybody else, just receive whatever the teacher is giving you and regurgitate it verbatim. And the better you are at parroting exactly what the teacher said, the more successful you will be in that system. So is it teaching imagination? Is it teaching intuition? Is it teaching inner authority? Is it teaching questioning and the art of asking questions? Is it teaching critical thinking? Is it teaching experimentation? Is it teaching observing the results and then maybe changing things up to try to get a different result if you don't like the result that you're getting? No, for the most part, we were not taught that. We were taught the opposite of that. So I say all of this so that we can have compassion for ourselves in this process where we're trying to get back in touch with what is absolutely our natural state of being. Because sometimes it feels like, well, if it's my natural state of being, how come it's so challenging to be there in that state? How come I just only catch like little tiny fleeting glimpses of truth, reality, peace, joy, what have you? Well, this is why. This is why. So let's just put that there and just throwing some things up on the psychic pin board here. And let's get into the language of intuition. So how is our inner teacher communicating to us, right? How do we receive, right? That was the first step. We want to receive, then we want to analyze, process, question, dissect it, break it down, flip it around, and then apply it, right? So we've got a few different modes here that we're going to be operating in. Well, the first is a mode of receptivity. So when we're opening to receive that intuitive information, how do we know that that is our intuition? What is that language of intuition? Well, this is part of the reason why you are the teacher is because I can share with you what I've learned about the language of intuition, how it shows up for me, how I've seen it show up for others. But your way is going to be unique to you. So we might have similarities, you might have similarities with other folks out there, but the way that you observe, the way you describe, the combination of, the pictures and the sounds and the smells and the impressions and the feelings and sensations of your observation or what you receive, how that information shows up for you is going to be a little bit different than anyone else, and that's beautiful. So just like each person, so we have all these folks who speak English, but the way that they speak it is all a little bit different, right? They have their own little turns of phrase and intonation and inflections and vocabulary and things like that. It's the exact same thing with intuition. So a language group like English or German or something like that is very similar to a language group of like clairvoyance or clairsentience, okay? But within those groups of the clairs, each person is going to be receiving or speaking that language in a slightly different way. But it's still understandable, right? So, okay. I'm not going to keep going with the metaphor. Put down the metaphor, step away from the metaphor. But I think it's helpful, right? Okay. So let's see, where was I going with this? The language of intuition. Okay, right. So I started to say this. Some of the ways that this language can come through is through things like seeing things visually. So some people might see a picture in their mind's eye. Some people see things out pictured, like it's right there. They can see like little subtle energies with their physical eyes, or they get some impression of subtle energies around them. So there's that clear seeing or clairvoyance, right? There's also, and I'm going to get a lot more into this in when we do more stuff on intuition. I'm going to talk a lot about intuition. But that just gives you an example of, you could be clairvoyant, you could be seeing things, you could be getting pictures, visual information, right? You could be a visual person. Maybe you're not a visual person. You're like, I can't do visualizations. Hey, does that mean you're not intuitive? No, because perhaps you are clairsentient and you feel things. Maybe you feel things in your body, like sensations, like a little chill up your back or on your arms, or the hair on your arms all stands up, or you feel like maybe even like a wave of emotion wash through you when you hear something that's true. Some folks just know things. They just get a clear knowing, and it's just like, they can't explain it. I don't know how I know that, but just this information, just boom, very fast download of information, and can't explain it. So there's these different ways. And so as you work at cultivating this relationship with your inner teacher, you will get to be very adept at understanding and speaking the language of the inner teacher. You'll get to a place in your practice where you just know. So we're going to be talking a lot about developing these skills and strengthening that trust in knowing that the information that we're getting is correct. So we're going to have lots of ways of testing and testing and testing, because I don't think we should just take whatever's given to us and just go, okay, I think we should go, what is this? Do I want to eat this? Oh, yum, okay, I'll try it. It's not for me. Let's have a little discernment in what we're taking in, right? But learning to trust this information that's coming through is a whole can of worms in itself, right? Because, hey, let's face it, we've got trust issues. We were trained to put our trust in authority figures and external teachers and caregivers and things like that. We didn't really have much of a choice now, did we? But were they the most trustworthy folks? Were they in alignment with truth? Were they in alignment with the higher will of creation? Or were they kind of doing something else? So we learn to trust things that maybe weren't that trustworthy. And we learned to squish our own genius and brilliance and sensitivities and things like that, so that we could just kind of go along to get along to survive. But now that we are grown as adults, it's time to really start clearing some of this crud out of our space, so that we can become the trustworthy beings that we truly are. And so that in itself is a process. Learning to cultivate a relationship with intuition, learning how to strengthen the intuition, strengthen the imagination, strengthen the connection to source energy, higher self, higher consciousness, higher will, learning how to discern the truth, learning how to align ourselves with love and stay in the vibration of love. All of this requires dedication and practice because of our social conditioning. So this trust stuff, it's the same thing. Yes, we are going to have trust issues. I want you to question the reads and the information that you get on things. And then I also want you to take a risk every once in a while and just act on the information that you get and see what happens, because we have to take those action steps in order to accomplish anything or learn anything or know anything. Okay, so in this way of practicing and practicing, we will build that trust muscle and become absolutely trustworthy teachers for ourselves and for everyone else. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful to be back. I haven't done any videos for a couple of weeks, but I'm looking forward to making more, and I will see you next time on Lightworker Training. Thank you. Bye for now.